Do women pick and choose what traditional values they want in a relationship? Do they pick and choose? We're going to be talking about this clip from Shannon Sharpe's 𝘾𝙊𝙈𝙈𝙀𝙉𝙀 podcast where he brought on Kirk Franklin.
What are your thoughts on 50-50 relationships?
What does that mean? 50-50 relationships.
You pay half, I pay half.
I'm old school.
See, that's me.
I'm old school. I'm gonna pay for everything.
But hold on, if you pay for everything, are you expecting old school values in a new school woman? Because that's not how they're wired.
But they can be. I think that every woman would be grateful for a man to step up and take leadership in the right way. The problem is the lack of love, compassion, and the lack of still having a voice in your significant other is the thing that we as men fail at. It's because there is this authoritarian mindset that we also have that if I'm contributing and leading everything, that I contribute and lead everything.
Right.
But there still should be an equal voice and an opinion and view that we must consider, that we must acquiesce to at times, because there's a wisdom and a knowledge that a woman brings to the table that we benefit from. And so, but a lot of that is our own insecurities, a lot of the ways that we were raised.
What do you think about that? Do you feel like women sometimes will cherry pick what traditional values they want? Like they want to be a traditional woman in one way, but then in other ways it's like, you can miss me with that.
You know what? On this one, I'm agreeing with Shannon and I'm agreeing with Kirk. Let me tell you why. Shannon makes sure, he said, hold on. Because women today ain't about that. Like, they ain't just going to sit there pretty like some old school woman, like what we would think they would do. Okay? He's right. Women today are like, no, I want to be heard. I got a point of view. I got an opinion, this and this and that. You're not going to make me quiet. They're going to hear what I got to say. Things like that. And so that's when you get that more new school type of thing. And not just going to sit there and be pretty. Now, what Kirk Franklin said was a really good point. He said that's because just because you're paying for everything and I'm, being your man and I'm taking over like you want in a way that's like, it's making me feel secure. Like, okay, I know this is a man who will take care of things and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean what he said, that she doesn't want to be heard. She doesn't want her opinion to be heard. What she says is not important. She hopes that it's not going in one ear and the other. So it is a balance. And yes, a lot of women do want that. We still want that. Chivalry isn't dead, right? Now everybody is saying, oh, I'm in my soft life era or things like that. They want it. That's really what they're calling it. So I will say that some women overcorrect. And they also say, I would say people on social media will have you thinking that everything is good or everything is bad. So that's out. But women now overcorrect and they be like, what are you saying that I can't do about myself? What you mean? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But then these are the same women who's saying, I wouldn't dare touch a trash bag. My man better take out the trash for me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hold on. Even back in the day, like, if the trash had to be taken out, come on now, we're just going to sit there and look at it all day. No, when you can take it out, that doesn't mean that your husband is not taking care of you. That doesn't mean that he's not the man of the house because you did that. That don't make you a man because you took out your trash. So I just have to say it's a balance. And I'm not disagreeing with them. Women want all of that, the nice stuff. If we're talking about dating, then women want all of that. But I will say that the man and the woman doesn't have as much of a say because they're just dating, right? On what I do and what you do, things like that. We're talking about like marriage and things like that. So I agree with both.
Yeah, I do too. There was a whole conversation maybe about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, where this was a big conversation where you had the Andrew Tates of the world, a lot of people from the red pill community online, where they were talking about how women will want all of the same type of like treatment as men and all these different things without having to actually bear the responsibilities that men would have in those things. So there was a whole bunch of back and forth. So like they'll say like women don't want equal rights but won't do the same type of jobs that like men will. And so obviously when women say equality, it's equality to a point that is within reason. Equality as far as treatment, equality as far as things that women actually want to do. If it's something they don't want to do, then of course they're like, yeah, man, go ahead and do the heavy lifting. Go ahead and fight the wars. Some of us will go, but like, hey, most women are totally fine with men going out there, and doing those things. So there is obviously a difference between men and women. There's a clear difference biologically. There's a clear difference in a lot of different ways, and then culturally. But generally speaking, I don't think that it's a problem for seeing certain traditional values and saying, yeah, I want that. And then I don't think it's a problem for you to look at yourself and say like, okay, am I a traditional woman in this regard? Some women like getting their hands dirty. Guess what? Even during the time when there were more women that were more quote unquote traditional, you had exceptions to the rule. You had some women that were entrepreneurial, especially in the Black community. I mean, Black women, traditional values when it comes to Black women have always been different than white women. Black feminism has always been different than white feminism. There's always been distinctions in these things. Now, I'm not a feminist. I don't support any of that thing, but I'm just pointing out facts is that it always reflects differently amongst Black people. But even traditional Black values would have the Black woman and even like just Black grandma playing a more prominent role in the families. We've always had a different family structure in that regard, but there always seemed to be an understanding that Black male dignity was a big deal, I think, during those times when those values were there. So even though in every respect, Black women maybe weren't traditional even then, but there was always this understanding of a Black man's dignity that I think gets lost in it. And I do think it's important that it's not so much that a woman can't do certain things. Like, it's not so much that a woman can't make money and provide. It's not so much that a woman can't handle certain things and do certain things, but it's more so about a lot of men have lost their dignity, especially Black men, and what it means to be a man. Like, a lot of Black men are sissified. Yeah. And we're talking about healthy pride. We're not talking about like pride in a negative or toxic sense. We're talking about the dignity. We're talking about someone can look at themselves and like be a proud man, be able to look at themselves in the mirror and know that they're working their butts off. They're making a way for their families. And I think in a lot of the modern feminism and a lot of the wave of like men and women are the same, like, I don't mind us being equal, but I don't think we're the same. And I think in that current era of that feminism, it's taken away the dignity that men have in what, being a man, being able to say, that I can hold the door open for my woman. I make sure that she's well off. She has the opportunity to work if she desires to, but she's not forced to. Being in that situation, there's a certain dignity, I think, that men thrive in having. And I think that gets lost in a lot of the conversations today. So going to the main conversation, just on something that might seem, frivolous when you're talking about a restaurant or paying the bill, I do think as far as a male dignity, like, yeah, these are all small little gestures that you can do to show that, like, hey, I can provide for you. Now, all of that being said, Camilla and I, we sometimes split meals 50-50 as far as the bill early on in our dating. Not all the time, but we definitely did. Why? We met each other when we didn't have much. We were college students. We had little to no money. And it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, we both were in a pretty consistent place. I might have been doing a little bit better because while she was a student, she wasn't working, but I was working.
Over the summers.
And I didn't have, I had a little bit more support than she had from her family. So I was in a different situation, but I still didn't have much, but we still at times, so sometimes I would pay for it all. A lot of times we split it 50-50, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the point more so is, I just think it's important for men to have that, dignity in who they are and also who they will be for that woman, or who they are as the husbands and things like that. So that's kind of how I look at it. Not to be long-winded, but I just don't want that to get lost in this thing. I don't think all traditional values are required. Like, I don't think you have to make a woman a stay-at-home parent necessarily. I think it's good to know that that person can have the option if they desire to do that. And I think
if you're in position,
if you're in that position, I think for us as men to be able to put our families in that position, I think it's powerful.
It is. No disagreements.
All right. We'd love to know your thoughts on this. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this topic. Before you head out, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell.